Hi everyone. This is that moment in life where you think you know it all, but you know nothing. So please welcome to our oh, I don't know how many years we've been doing this, but our Travel Week webinar, where we will take you through quite a lot of the work that we're doing with as part of the Sho't team. Thank you so much. We have 178 people that are on, which is fantastic. And we hope you're going to enjoy the 2 hour session. It might be shorter if you've got many questions, it might be slightly longer, but we hope to keep you engrossed in this extremely informative webinar today. So just to give you a sense of the flow for the day, we are going to, well, I do the welcome. Apparently that's what my job is. My name is Sho't. I'm head of domestic tourism here at South African Tourism. I am joined by a team, a full team from South African Tourism, from the Domestic Tourism Hub, which is Melanie Lelou. You will see her soon. We've got Sherilyn Swells from our marketing team. We've got Voyani, who does absolutely everything for us. We've got Funega from our activations team. We've got Mabeka from our marketing team. And unfortunately, Huiti could not join us. She's from our trade team and works very closely with Melanie. So you've got the full team. Anything that you need to ask, anything that you need to know, if I did something to you about last year, let's leave it at last year and not bring it into this particular year. The other people that we actually do have on are obviously that I need to actually welcome are our speakers who will be taking you through a number of details. And we've got Mariette Dutoy. Mariette, please don't kill me if I pronounce your surname very, very incorrectly. You will be allowed to butcher my name later. Mariette Dutoy Helmbord from Destinate. I will tell you about her a bit later when she comes in. We've got Tabang Sheza from Old Mutual. Also, I'll tell you about him. And Ayanda Mantombozane from Mhlongo is her surname, who's a marketing consultant and founder. I will tell you about them, and they absolutely great profiles when they come in to speak. I will not, under any circumstances, forget Vongani Sambo, who is our insight specialist from South African Tourism. He's the person that gives us all the insights that helps us determine the work that we're actually doing as domestic tourism. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is pass over to Melanie Lelou, who will take us through not just Sho't Travel Week, but Sho't and what Sho't is about, what we do, and how you can be a part of who we are. I will allow there's a Q&A that you can do. So for every presentation, you may then ask questions and we can field the questions then, because I fear if you're as old as I am, you will know that you will forget. So for every presentation, we will then field any questions. I will either answer or someone from the team will then answer the question, and then we will rock and roll. I hope you enjoy the day with us. Mel?
Good morning, everyone. I'm just getting my presentation ready so I can share. Okay, that's me. Good morning, everybody. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. We look forward to this occasion every year. We always have a fantastic turnout, and I hope you're going to get the value out of this morning's session as you always do. I'm going to take you through our Sho't campaign. We're just going to touch on some of the previous or the work that we do throughout the year, but the purpose of this morning is to really talk about Travel Week and what you can look forward to as we get closer to September 7th to the 13th. Okay, so let's share. My presentation's driving itself. Okay, so let's get started with our Travel Week information. Firstly, let's note that Travel Week this year takes place from the 7th to the 13th of September. We do have Sho't live all year round, so we are always on with particularly larger campaigns that take place in summer from October to Jan, and then we've got Easter from Feb to April. But we are live throughout the year, so there's no restriction in terms of when you will participate on our platform. And let's just talk about the platform itself. It's open to every single South African travel and tourism business that is operating. Our job is to encourage South Africans to travel and enjoy South Africa as a leisure and holiday experience. So we encourage and welcome all of you that want to participate on the platform. Hopefully, the majority of you are already partners with us on our Sho't platform. But if you haven't yet, we'll give you the partner link a little bit into this presentation so that you can still join. And like I mentioned, your deals can be loaded throughout the year. We provide the marketing exposure through our extensive campaigns that I've mentioned so that you can get South Africans traveling and enjoying your experiences. Just to touch on our three segments, Bongani is actually going to talk more about this, but I just wanted, in terms of encouraging you to join the platform, which is online, and of course it extends to social media as well. We've got our Build, Convert and Defend market segments that covers the South African market. The Build market, we still work very much in terms of creating awareness. These are people that are not ready to necessarily spend, but they are traveling and visiting friends and relatives. But we want to expose them to what we have available. Then we've got the Convert segment who travels mostly through work, but they are exposed to what South Africa has because of that travel. And we want to get them traveling more for leisure purposes. And then we've got the Defend market who spends a little more than the other segments. They sometimes travel overseas. They definitely travel during the school holidays. And we want to encourage them to continue traveling by showing them what we have to offer beyond those common or more, popular used experiences that we have around the country. This slide is mostly here to show you that everyone is really looking to social media, online advertising to find information about tourism. This is the reason we need to make sure that we are actively promoting ourselves on the platform so that we can definitely reach South Africans. This is just a glance at what our Travel Week campaign rollout will look like. We obviously start now with our webinar and our communication with you, our trade partners, and all of our stakeholders. All of our communication is really to get you ready so that you can be prepared for the South African traveler who's going to be exploring our website from the 7th to the 13th. Just a reminder that the 7th to the 13th, which is Travel Week, is not when your deals are meant to be valid. So your actual travel period can be any time during the year. So when a South African visits the website and finds your deal on the website and they are quite keen to inquire about it, it mustn't necessarily be within that week because it really doesn't give them much time to inquire, book, and actually travel. This is an opportunity for you to promote your deals anytime during the year. So you can promote your quieter periods. You can use it to boost your busy times. You can just, promote deals that are standard rates, whatever you want. But we really encourage great discounts because this is what we sell Travel Week as. It's your discounted period. And then those people who have a first try at what you are selling as an establishment or, an attraction experience, they might very well come back when you start charging your normal rates. But a discount is a good way to get people to experience what you have to offer. So please note that we do have the campaign for our business partners that will run through the period as well. So we'll continue with social media. We're also planning to do a trade influencer campaign. So we may reach out if we believe that you've got quite an active social media platform driving your actual establishment or business that you are running in travel and tourism. We'll provide you with a toolkit that will also help you associate with our extensive marketing, and that will include banners, email signature. You might want to use the mail template, and various elements that will be able to help you get the same awareness out there with your customers and with new customers. And then our B2C campaign kicks off towards the end of July. So we generally start with digital. So you should see us quite extensively on social media. And then we'll go full on with our above the line campaign as we lead into September towards the beginning of travel week. So a lot of extensive marketing, TV, radio, outdoor, community media platforms, and definitely extensive social media. So we've got that to look forward to. And we also want to let you know that if you are early with your deals, and this is not to say, this is really the fairest way we can do it. If you create your deals, load them and get them approved on time, you may have the opportunity to be part of our campaign, because the campaign starts a lot earlier than travel week. So we need content earlier on that we can utilize. So let's get those deals ready and move on. Our Travel Week campaign this year is around 1,000 reasons to short left, and there's a lot that we're planning in terms of engagement with the consumer. We want to hear from South Africans what their reasons are to travel. We'll share with consumers on social media platforms. We're going to drive that engagement, get South Africans excited, and hear what other people are doing when it comes to traveling around South Africa and taking a short left. So getting travel deals up to 50% off is definitely a reason. Booking for travel that suits them whenever for the period that you choose for validity is definitely a reason. And of course, we always have travel deals that are all over South Africa in every single of our 9 provinces. But the main thing we want to look forward to is getting South Africans excited about their reasons to travel. We're going to share, not just how beautiful our country is, but we want to share with South Africans these very reasons they should be traveling. And we're going to reach out to both our business partners and consumers, because 1,000 reasons to short left is the way we're going to go. Okay, so in terms of our key points for Travel Week, the partner platform is where you need to register. This is where you get to create your profile. You get to add your deals, as many deals as you want. You'll upload beautiful pictures, information about what you have in the area, and, create appealing deals that make South Africans click on that deal so that you can get those inquiries. We only provide the platform in terms of marketing your establishment. The inquiries go straight to you as a business. We don't get involved in any transactions. It's a free platform. So we really are here to drive South Africans to where you are. So ideally, you want to have a live website, or you want to have social media platforms that we can drive them to, because you get to put all of that information when you are creating your deals. We will continuously send mailers out reminding you not just about Travel Week related matters, but about what Short Left is doing throughout the year. Remember, the earlier you get your travel deals created, the better. The 1st of August is an ideal period, because that's when we'll be getting all of our creative artwork ready. If your deals are live, there's a very good chance, and if they are yummy, well-discounted deals and are appealing to South Africans, then there's a chance that you can be part of our campaign. Very important to note, once you have created your profile, it does not stop there. You need to create deals. And a lot of our partners, we note they tend to create their profiles, but then we lose them. And we're not seeing the number of deals on the platform as we should in terms of the number of people that have registered. So we really want you to make sure that you have created your deals, you've put in your descriptions, emphasize what is complementary, emphasize what is going on in your area, collaborate with your people within the area, whether it's activities they have, maybe you're an activity and their accommodation, put something together and share it on our short-lived platform. So whatever you create on your partner platform is then displayed on the shortlift.co.za, which is the consumer-facing platform. And then just a reminder that Travel Week is from the 7th to the 13th of September. And yeah, we look forward to getting you all on board. Please contact us if you have any questions. You can contact me, Melanie, at southafrica.net. You can contact us on shortlift at southafrica.net as well. The team are all available to respond to those emails, and we look forward to a fantastic Travel Week this year. Okay, so I think I'm handing over to Bongani.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mel. I shall be sharing my presentation. Right. So mine today really it's a thought starter, as I would like to put it. And so I'm just going to take you through. I'm basically going to do a walk through some key points which are important for us to keep in mind, especially going into Travel Week, and as we put the deals in there to sensitize us about what is going on in the domestic travel space, so that we can better make informed decisions. Now, the domestic tourism has well recovered, as we have seen across all the years that coming out of the pandemic, we had a surge in travel. And where we stand at this current point in time, the conversation has now changed. It is no longer about recovery. So we are no longer talking about we need to recover to where we were prior to the pandemic, but rather the conversation now becomes, how do we then maintain or sustain the growth that we have been experiencing in the domestic travel space? And saying this, given a space where consumer preferences are evolving, where there are different economic pressures that are present, which presses towards people having to travel, digital disruptions and increasing competition for travelers, to saying that how do we then sustain tourism or domestic tourism in a space where all these are considered. We know as a start, trips are increasing, meaning that there are people who are still undertaking domestic trips. What we are, however, starting to see is a slight shift, that in as much as we are seeing a rise in the volume of people or domestic trips, we are starting to see a trend where people are taking the trips, but they are starting to stay less. And so if they used to stay for almost 4 nights, now they're staying for a night less than what they would normally stay at a given point in time, which is suggesting that there is a change in travel behavior towards shorter stays. And when we then go and we look at the spend, is that in as much as we see the number or the volume of domestic trips that are being undertaken, we are now starting to see a trajectory which indicates that the overall spend that is being generated from those trips is starting to decline. For the first time in 2025, for the first time in 5 years having come out of the pandemic, we experienced a decline in the overnight spend by about 18%, meaning that though we had many people undertaking trips, they spent relatively less than what they did in the previous year. And this has also been signaled by a decline in the average spend that these particular people that undertake these trips spend. So, meaning that the amount that they spend per trip has now declining from about 3.4 to about 2.5, which is almost a 1,000 rands decline on the average spend that they spend on the trip or the trips that they undertake. And when you then go and you look at the reasons why they travel, what you then see is that people still travel predominantly to visit friends and relatives, and that still remains the largest reason why they travel, and it has also shown a year-on-year increase. And this is both in the volumes of those who undertake trips for VFR, as well as the amount that they spend, though the average amount has declined, but the amount in total that they spend has increased. The picture has slightly changed when we now look at holiday. For the first time in some time now, we have seen that the number of trips, in as much as the overall overnight trips have increased, we are now seeing a decline in holiday trips, wherein trips in the previous year declined by about 13.7%, which was also accompanied by a decline in the overall amount that has been spent on holiday trips. And same applies to this, the average spend per trip, per holiday trip, has also declined. If you look at how people spend for each purpose of visit that they undertake, VFR still remains the highest in terms of how much it contributes towards the overall spend, followed by holiday and about those who travel for professional services and religious services, and then MICE and all other things. VFR, the overall spend has increased, whereas that of holiday, professional, and MICE has declined. And when you look at religious, those who travel for religious purposes have actually experienced a bigger growth in terms of what is being spent by those who travel for those particular reasons, having increased by about 37% year on year, meaning that what they spent in 2024 compared to what they spent in 2025 has increased. So they spent more for religious purposes than they did, a little bit more than they did for holiday or for professional services or for MICE. Now, the part where I want us to look at now before we wrap it up is that what we're seeing is that satisfaction in terms of domestic holiday is still increasing. People who have undertaken domestic trips in the past are saying that for the previous holiday trip that we have undertaken, we were satisfied, meaning that the experiences that they had did give them a great level of satisfaction. They are also indicating that their share of wallet as far as domestic trips, domestic holidays, has increased from about 5.9 to 6.3. What is, however, changing in as much as they're saying we are increasing the share of wallet and we are satisfied with the previous trips that we've had, we are now seeing a trend where the net travel sentiment is now declining, wherein they're saying that we will not take as much trips as we did previously in this point in time, which then speaks to the first point where we started, where we are now seeing the length of stay starting to slightly drop. We are also seeing a slight decline in terms of them searching for information about travel within South Africa and their net promoter score, meaning that those who would promote and those who would not promote. we are also seeing a decline in that, meaning that we are seeing a reduction in those who would say we would then recommend, in as much as they were satisfied, but we are seeing a decline in those who would recommend domestic travel. And an interesting phenomenon that we are now seeing is that those who are considering domestic trips or traveling domestically for holiday are also saying that we are also considering more trips outside their country, meaning that we now have the competing priorities between traveling within the country and going outside the country is now increasing over and above the mounting pressures that they have. Now, the question which for today I want to leave with us is that given the fact that we see the volumes of domestic trips increasing, and yet we are seeing them staying for shorter periods, and we are seeing them spending less than what they used to spend, and the net travel sentiment decreasing. The question which I want to leave with the room is that how do we turn more domestic trips into greater value for travelers themselves? Because if they do not travel, then the demand declines. For tourism businesses, for destinations, and the South African economy as a whole. This is a thought that I want to pose to the room, that even as we go through all the packed presentations that we are going to pack, one which is to follow, which talks about what travelers want and all these things, we should be thinking about how do we turn the volumes of trips that we have to generate greater values for travelers. If we generate greater value for travelers, we are more likely to see these travelers undertaking or the net travel sentiment increasing. We already know that they are saying that we are satisfied, but we now need to convert those domestic trips into greater value, reflected through the spending that they would leave at each and every destination within the country that they go to, which then translates into value for the tourism businesses, which is yourselves, and also the destination, and ultimately the South African economy as a whole. So I am going to pause this presentation here to get us thinking as we go through all the other presentations, to saying that we know that there is potential for more trips because trips are being undertaken. Now we need to generate the value for the travelers. And I am just going to pause it here for now and hand it back to our coordinator for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bongani, for your presentation. And Melanie, I think on my side, what I will then just reiterate on the different presentations. One is, yes, what Mel has said. It is the 17th to the 13th of September. I mean, the 7th to the 13th of September that we have Travel Week. Please make sure you have all your deals ready. At least can we have them ready by latest, Mel, I would say end of August, so that we can make sure that everything is fine. If there's queries that we have, we can send them back to you and then you can look at them. Please also engage with us on shortlift@southafrica.net. Please keep in mind that shortlift is SHOTLEFT. We will put it in the chat so that you know how to engage with us. Also remember, the travel is not for that week. It is specifically booking in that week. We also want to encourage you that you take part in Shortlift in its entirety. Throughout this particular campaign, we will be on TV, radio, out of home, print, and very, very much so on our digital platforms, where we will be promoting everything that is Travel Week related. Melanie mentioned that we will be giving a toolkit. If you have the toolkit and you actually put the toolkit in line with your marketing, it helps that when people see what we are promoting and they see your elements, then you will be able to, they'll be able to connect the two dots of that's Travel Week and you are part of it, which helps in marketing this a lot more. So please make sure you utilize the toolkit. Norma, just to let you know, on the Q&A, we have put in the link for everybody to actually go in and register for Travel Week and register for Sho't Left in its entirety. So the link is there. And yes, we look forward to also giving you that toolkit. The other thing that I just want to mention is that throughout the particular year, Melanie mentioned that we also have other campaigns. So we will try to engage you further when we do our summer campaigns and our Easter campaign so that you're in the loop with everything that we're doing and what we're hoping to achieve with each campaign. So we hope to work quite well with you guys throughout these particular campaigns so that we grow domestic tourism. Bongani, you talked quite a lot about how we are performing as domestic tourism, and thank you for that. And then one of the things that I just wanted to highlight, which now my numbers are going to be very dicey when I say this, but that there's the average stay. Vongani, remind me, what's that for holiday specifically? Is it 4 days?
Just give me one moment. I'll confirm the exact number for you. Just one moment.
And the reason I'm emphasizing this is that when you do your packages, it is important to look at how long people stay and what the average cost of it is, so that it will actually assist you to say, okay, we've got a package. That package is 3 nights, 4 days, and it is, and Wangani, please remind me, but I think it was about 4,300 Rand, the average. So
Yes. So it's about 4.5 days that they stay, and it's about just about 4,000 that they spend on average. Yeah.
Yes. Well, at least my brain is still working on a Tuesday morning. So if we can keep that in mind, that would be great. Vongani, while I still have your voice here, Kobano Escape Travel House has asked if the holiday trips declined because more people are traveling internationally, or holiday travel, both internationally and locally, have actually declined.
So it's not more on them having traveled outside. It's more a shift where we are seeing more of them now traveling for visiting friends and relatives, which could then suggest that people would visit friends and relatives and then couple all other things over on top of that than specifically traveling for holiday, because they are saying that they are allocating more money for holiday travel within South Africa. So it's more of shifting from them traveling for holiday, but traveling more for VFR and traveling for religious purposes. So it's moving it's moving in terms of what they are choosing to travel for overall. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Bongani. I think if there's one thing that I have noted, though, is we have seen much better results in terms of beginning of this year. In terms of how people are actually traveling. We've seen that holiday has actually increased slightly between our January and May figures, which from the top of my head, the amount was 5.1% that we've increased from January to May on holiday trips. So we have also seen that, there's what Vongani presented was, I think, Jan to December from last year. So what we are seeing is a steady increase this year. Obviously, this is just Jan to May. We will keep you informed on how we're performing as the year actually goes on. That is, I think, all we have to say for that. So I am going to move on and get to our next speaker, who is Mariette. Mariette is going to talk to us about South African travelers and what they want in 2026 and how you can make your property irresistible. Just to give you a sense about Mariette, she established Destinate in 2013 after 10 years as the award-winning CEO of Cape Town Tourism. Yes, Mariette, we are very well aware. Well done on that. She is in demand internationally as a tourism strategist, facilitator, and speaker on tourism, destination management, and innovation in marketing. Just to give you a sense of Destinate, it's a destination management and tourism marketing agency established in 2013 after by Mariette. And they help implement strategies, build brands, market destinations, and connect people with great brands and destinations. So Mariette, over to you.
Thank you so much, everybody, and very, very grateful to be with you this morning. It's a beautiful sunshine day out there. And again, a reminder that winter is not all bad in South Africa, and probably one of the favorite times for a lot of domestic travelers to get out and about. Myself and my family actually headed off to the Swartberg Mountains this last holiday, and it was again a reminder of what a beautiful country we live in. So I want to talk a little bit to you today about what are some of the key trends driving domestic tourism in 2026, and there's some interesting trends that we're seeing shaping that's directly aligned with what Bongani and other speakers have been talking about. So first and foremost, our domestic travelers are no longer simply buying a destination or a guest house. They're buying stories, transformation, and memorable experiences. They're buying people. And the businesses that curate experiences rather than just provide accommodation or attractions will be the winners in 2026. So I think what's quite evident is that we all have to work a little bit harder to attract our visitors. We really need to look at how we package ourselves along with the destination, and we really can't afford anymore to work in isolation. We have to work together, take hands within the community where we want to visit our visitors to come, to say, how do we leverage the money we have available to market, the experiences we have to offer, the people we have amongst us in our community that can add value to our visitors. So I've narrowed it down to just some 5 trends, which are kind of easy to remember. And of course, I'll share this with the South African tourism team in a presentation after today. I really wanted us to have more of a conversation about this and encourage also interaction with our guests. So as I said, the first and foremost one that I think for me stands out, and I see this across all the clients that we work with, is that experience first travel is leading, not destinations. And of course, we have beautiful destinations, we have amazing attractions and great guest houses, but people are asking, what can I experience rather than just where should I be going? So people want immersive, participatory travel. They want to learn, they want to taste, they want to create. And I think most importantly, and this is something that we really saw emerge during and just immediately after COVID, is people want to reconnect. They want to reconnect with themselves, with their loved ones, with each other, and they also want to connect with the places they travel to. And some examples that people enjoy doing is cooking with local chefs, wine blending experiences, indigenous cultural storytelling, participating in conservation activities rather than just coming to look at the results of that, farm experiences, artisanal workshops, and how can we leverage this? We can package our accommodation with these unique local experiences. We can turn passive sightseeing into hands-on participation, and we can partner with guides, local artists, local chefs, local communities to create these bookable experiences. And I just want to pause on that. When we talk about bookable experiences, we've got to make it easier for people to find us and to contract with us, to book with us. And so often, people have to scratch for their information, and so we've really got to be quite practical. So in other words, if we are on social media, let's create the links, let's put the packages together, let's do the work for the visitors so that it's easier. And above all else, we need to stand out. There's so much competition. So importantly, these experiences create memories, and memories is what create repeat visits and also social media advocacy. If we create these standout experiences, we can almost in a way sit back and watch our visitors, our guests do our marketing. And we've seen obviously that word of mouth still drives our marketing predominantly. And now, of course, a lot of that is taking place on social media. So then the second trend is micro adventures and shorter escapes. So this obviously aligns perfectly with what Wongani was saying. We are seeing a small drop in the amount of days or nights that people are going away. We know that financially South Africans are under pressure, especially the middle class, who are the people that traditionally tend to do domestic tourism most. And so with these cost pressures still influencing our travel decisions, South Africans are taking more frequent but shorter breaks. So let's think weekend getaways, one night luxury escapes, a midweek wellness retreat for people to just kind of like disconnect a little bit, scenic road trips, and then of course day outings closer to home. So people want maximum value. So we've really got to look at, yes, sure, this is what the bed night costs, but how can I add value to that by adding in a unique experience, by delighting my guest in some way, so that the price becomes kind of almost secondary, and that people feel that that trip truly gave them something that is memorable and that was worth investing. So how can businesses leverage this? I think some of the practical ideas are working on 48-hour itineraries, packaging for couples, particularly, packaging for family weekends, midweek offers. And then, of course, and I think this is a great opportunity for our domestic tourism industry, is really working on last-minute bookable experiences. And I think a short left campaign like this is a great example. Yes.
Apologies, it's Sho't here. Someone is
Yes.
just asking if you do have a presentation, and if you do, it's not sure, or you're just talking through it.
I'm talking through it, and I'll share my presentation afterwards.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so instead of selling stay for 3 nights, why don't we rather say recharge in 48 hours? So again, it's about the language that we use that can appeal to our travelers. A lot of us as South Africans, we have been under a lot of pressure economically, financially. Our time is super precious. So we need to look at the kind of words and the language that would resonate with our guests. And of course, the surveys and the stats are showing that there's a strong preference for domestic travel, despite all these economic pressures that we're under. So perhaps it is a way to shift our language a little bit, to shift our packaging a little bit, and to provide people with a little bit of extra and added value. Then the third trend I want to talk about is wellness. So wellness has shifted into the mainstream. It has evolved beyond booking a spa weekend. And of course, we need to think about it, that a lot of people think wellness means that I have to build an expensive spa. That's not necessarily the case. Today's traveler wants to immerse themselves into nature. They want moments of silence. They perhaps want to digitally detox. We know that there's a huge trend towards hiking and spending time outdoors. There's breath work, forest walks, looking at how our food offering can be healthier. And then, of course, slowing down and providing people with better sleep, which you'll see anybody that's on Discovery and that has a Discovery app knows now they're even tracking your sleep. So people are investing in themselves, and more people are seeing holidays as an investment in their mental well-being. So how could we leverage this without building an expensive spa? Perhaps let's look at packaging sunrise walks, yoga on the lawn, stargazing in the Karoo, picnic experiences, outdoor dining, mindfulness moments, and of course, immersion into nature. And wellness is becoming an experience layer rather than a standalone product. So this is something that you can offer even if you are a guest house or a hotel. You don't have to be a spa. You can offer wellness to people by the way in which you package experiences. Then local authenticity beats generic luxury. So today's luxury isn't simply marble bathrooms or the thread counts on your linen. People increasingly value authenticity, local food, the opportunity to sit down with interesting local people and hear local stories of heritage. They want that community interaction. And of course, they want to meet local people and hang out where locals hang out, because people remember people. So how can we leverage this? I think the most important question we all need to ask ourselves is, what is uniquely ours that nobody else can copy? So for instance, let's meet the winemaker. Let's walk with a local guide. Let's visit a family-owned farm. Let's hear the stories from the community. Showcase local music and crafts, or sit down for dinner with a local family. Your only competitive advantage is your story. It is your local identity. And how we package that as communities, as tourism businesses, is going to be essential, not just for domestic tourism, but also for international tourists as we go into season. And then, of course, we spoke about it, we saw it in the stats, is that shareable experiences drive marketing. Social media is now tourism's biggest distribution channel. Travelers want to share the memorable experiences they have. And this means beautiful moments, unexpected moments, or as I call it, moments of delight, emotional moments. And we should all ask ourselves, is this moment that I'm creating for my guest Instagrammable? How is this memorable enough for my guests to naturally want to share it with their friends and families and followers? So we can create signature photo moments, sunset experiences, interactive food presentations, give people behind the scenes access. So for instance, invite them into the kitchen, and of course, share story-worthy moments. And of course, my favorite thing is the surprise element. We live in an era where everything is kind of thought out for us. There's hardly any surprises left. So let's package some joy for people. Let's delight our guests. And every guest then becomes a potential brand ambassador. So just wrapping up, two final thoughts to share with you. The tourism businesses that will win in 2026, they're not trying to keep guests inside their properties. They're encouraging them and helping them to explore the destination around that establishment. And ironically, the more generously they share the destination with others, including sometimes competitor businesses in their areas, the stronger your own business will become. So I believe that the best accommodation establishments don't just build their own brands, They help build the brand of the place they call home. So I want to leave you with 3 simple questions before we open it up to you as well to add your own questions. Is what can guests do, not just see? What story will they tell when they get home and sit around the dinner table with their family or with friends? And then thirdly, what memory will make them want to come back and bring someone else with? So this shifts the focus from selling products or bed nights to creating meaningful experiences that automatically sell guest houses, bed nights, plates of food, etc. So in summary, the future of domestic tourism isn't about attracting more visitors. It's about creating more meaningful moments. The businesses that will thrive in 2026 will be those that transform ordinary products into extraordinary experiences, because these are the experiences that are remembered, shared, and returned to. So are there any questions from the floor? Of course, there's lots of examples that we can talk about as well. I've got plenty of case studies that I will share with you guys as part of the presentations. But I think the key thing is that we need to look at how we package our stories and how we present ourselves to the world and to each other in a more authentic way.
Thank you so much, Mariette. That was absolutely insightful. And thanks for later sharing the presentation with us so that everybody can actually see it. I think it's always good to know what people are looking for. And I love the idea that don't keep them in. That is by far one of my favorite things. You know, people want to actually go see outside. And it ties in also quite well with what Mal said earlier when she said, don't just show your bedroom, beautiful as it may be, but showcase what people can actually do in and around the area that you're actually at. Because, you know, people, while we love, you know, beds, we also do want to go outside and enjoy what is there to offer. So thank you for that. Just going through the questions. Let me put my camera back on. I'm going to start with Tebang, who would really like to tap onto what Vongani said in terms of the decline. He says, how about we do campaigns using influencers as extra voices? It would be great if we encourage geographical spread, to encourage repeat visits, and also to expose destinations domestically, which can be visited all year round. Thank you for that, Sabang. We do actually work quite closely with influencers in our campaigns, and you will see when we do Travel Week that we will also introduce a number of influencers that will actually be the voice of our campaigns as opposed to us just being the only voice. Obviously, we will still short-lived be the voice. So Karabo wants to know about market types, but I think I don't know, Mariette, should I allow you to talk about market types or just count on the fact that it'll be seen from the presentation when you share it?
I can just talk very briefly about that for a second. And I think what we said is that, you know, of course, people travel for various reasons domestically, and Vongani spoke about that. So visiting friends or relatives, going for business, etc. But I think what we've really got to look at is what does that mean for our business? How do we package ourselves to make sure that we are able to have something for those markets or those individuals? But also to understand that we don't have to be everything to everybody. Is there a particular market segment within the domestic market that you want to focus on? For example, if you are located in a small town, let's say Greyton, where there are plenty of mountain biking trails, you know that there's an artisanal market, you know that there's nature, of course, your product and your marketing needs to be focused quite a lot on people who would perhaps are a little bit more active, who wants to come for outdoor experiences, families who want to do something active together, etc. So it's really very important. Again, I can't reiterate it enough, is how we network within a community to find those unique experiences, and then how we partner and package those experiences. If we do that as well, what we develop is we develop a microcosm of businesses. We provide a business support network or immediately. In other words, you will forever then be marketing a place with accommodation experiences, but more importantly, a place with experiences and interesting people and a community that's worth visiting. And of course, people then will need a wonderful place to stay. So it really is beneficial for guest houses, for cottages, for farms to come together and to make sure that they know who the restaurants are, who the activity operators are, who the interesting local community people are, where are the artists, where are the chefs that we can partner with to create experiences for our domestic travelers, whether they are coming to visit friends and relatives, whether they're coming for a business meeting and want to add a bit of free time. There are plenty of reason for us to extend people's stay. And if they've got only 48 hours or 3 days in a destination, how do we maximize that opportunity so that they return for longer with their friends and their families next time?
Thanks so much, Mariette. There is another question that we saw in the Q&A, which is about visitor stats for the Sho't website. Melanie will share that, but just as a high level, for Travel Week last year, we had 82,000 for that week that actually went onto the site, with 14,000 people actually going to the deals. As it stands right now, from Jan, we had 302,000 website views, with 41,000 being the deals that are viewed. I do not have the splits, unfortunately, for the demographics in terms of international versus South Africa. We do, obviously, it is skewed predominantly to South Africa, but we will look for that stats and send it when we send all the information. I think those are the questions. Have I missed another question? I think that is it for the questions. Thanks so much, Mariette.
Thank you, everybody. Look forward to touch base with everybody, and I'll share my presentation with the South African tourism team.
Thank you very much. I will move now to Thabang Hleza, who is the head of investments at Old Mutual, who will be taking us through supporting SMMEs in travel and tourism. To give you a sense who Thabang is, he's an experienced investment professional, holds an MBA at Gibbs and a BCom accounting in UCT. And he is one of the directors at Old Mutual as part of the Masisizane Fund. Masisizane, Thabang, you can smack me when you see me personally if I pronounced it very incorrectly, but it is Let's Help Each Other. And it's a non-profit funding entity that provides enterprise development to small, medium enterprises through two core channels, and developing finance and business support. So Thabang, now that I did become accounting, it showed me flames. So I'm hoping that you are going to show that actually I didn't study hard enough. I could have done this much better, and my mother may have wasted a few rands there and there. Please, can you take us through how to take us through supporting SMMEs in travel and tourism?
Thank you. Good morning. Let me try and bring my presentation up, and just let me know if you can see it. Just a second. Can you guys see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. No, thank you very much. I'll try and be brief. So we are Masisizane Fund, and as you said, let's help each other. Been around for the last, my presentation is just not showing on my side. Let me see, why is that? Sorry, just a second, guys. There we go. All right. So we are Masisi and a fund, been around for the last 19 years, really at a macro level, set up to address three key things. One, how do you address the issue of poverty and inequality and unemployment through SME development? I think over the last 19 years, when we started to where we are, I think as a country, if you look at those three economic indicators, all of them have moved more into the negative, which then says there's still more that needs to be done. So hopefully we'll still continue what we do over the next couple of years. Our value proposition is really anchored on three strategic pillars. One that says, how do we make sure that SMEs are ready for funding? I think research says currently in the ecosystem, approval rates are sitting between 10 and 13%. If you're generous, you'll say 20%, which effectively says we are approving 2 out of 10 transactions at any given point in time. And this is not just isolated to Masisizane, it's a broader ecosystem challenge. So then we said, how do we make sure then that we address this challenge? So we've set our business then on three strategic pillars. That one says investment readiness. How do we get SMEs investment ready so that then we intentionally address these low approval rates? The other part of the pillar is capacity building, again born out of a research that says, and a reality that says, SMEs have a lifespan of between 18 and 20 and 24 months. And we know that that is not a question of funding, because those two have received funding, and what it is then, and it is more than just funding, which is the capacity building part. So how do we strengthen system, processes, governance, strategy to make sure that this business not only is able to access funding, but can sustainably manage the funding even beyond the investment period? But at the center is probably what we're all here for, the access to funding. How do we make sure then after you've gotten you ready, we provide you with funding? So we provide funding in two forms. One is direct funding to majority black-owned SMEs across 5 sectors, which is tourism, which we'll dive into today, manufacturing, logistics, agribusiness, and services. And all of these are really geared to address these 5 key economic challenges that SMEs are facing. I've touched on this already, so I'll just move quickly. I guess what is important then is our different funding range. So across these 5 key sectors, we provide funding between 1 million up to 20 million across then different funding instruments. We are majority a debt fund, so we provide either contract funding, working capital, asset finance. To an extent that the opportunity and makes sense for an equity structuring, we also then consider that. Our pricing is prime linked. We do factor development discount to an extent that the opportunity we're looking at is as women-owned, youth-owned, or people living with disability. Our investment process, which we say to the market, our aim to an extent that the SMEs has provided a complete data room is to take the transaction to our first committee between between 4 to 6 weeks period, right? And that is up to an approval of 5 million. To an extent that is higher than that, then it typically takes about an 8 weeks period to close that approving cycle. This is a high-level overview of our criteria and exclusion, majority black-owned businesses operating in the sectors that we have outlined, what we don't fund, political organization, enterprise with illegal, environmentally harmful activities, and I will share this presentation with the colleagues after the call. So maybe just to zoom in into tourism more specifically, what we do and how do we do it, and why then Masisizane is there to support SMEs in the tourism space. I think the numbers speaks for themselves that tourism remains, I think, a proven engine for growth. So for us, tourism not just a peripheral or a nice to have sector, given that I think if you can see from the 2024 stats numbers that it is now bigger than utilities, agriculture, and construction combined from a GDP contribution, right? If you look at and I think Bongani spoke to this, that the recovery of the sector post-COVID then also speaks for itself. And this is why then for us and SMEs who deliver most of the on-ground visitor experience matter so much to us as a fund. Right. If you look at the subsectors within tourism, I think it is well documented that SMEs make up around 90% of all South African businesses. And in tourism specifically, these are your guest houses, the shuttle operators, the tour guides, and the local restaurants and the craft traders, which we all fund. Right? And every stage of a tourist journey, whether it's getting there, staying somewhere, eating, doing activities, or buying something to be remembered by, it is overwhelmingly delivered by small businesses, not necessarily large corporate. And it's also why a gap or a weakness at an SME level, whether it's funding, skills, or infrastructure, has a ripple effect for my visitor experience and the overall just country's tourism a reputation. The reality on the ground, though, says despite this contribution to GDP, I think SMEs in the tourism space face a number of challenges. So I'll just touch briefly on the 6 challenges and what we do as a fund to support SMEs in addressing some of these challenges. And this is what we consistently see in research and also in our own engagement. One is where there's limited access to funding, generally with more startup capital, either drawn from personal savings, largely because of traditional lenders generally see tourism as a high risk and a seasonal sector, and that genuine seasonality that makes cash flow management quite difficult. Infrastructure limitation, again, this was cited by over half of SMEs, right? That this is one of the constraints that they face as SMEs in the tourism space. Of course, skills and governance gaps, as well as market access and visibility. Maybe just to go a bit deeper on the funding constraints, and that access to finance is consistently been identified as the single most influential factor, right, affecting the sustainability of tourism SMEs, particularly in township and rural context. And this dynamics is really compounded by four issues. I think I've spoken about most entrepreneurs are self-funding from personal savings, largely because of how risky the sector is viewed, which then links to the second point that banks often view tourism as seasonal, high-risk sector, which then limits extension of traditional funding. But having said that, there are things that we can also do as SMEs in the tourism space, that the poor record keeping and limited financial literacy, which quite often hinder the credit worthiness of the opportunities that are being put before banks, right? That many otherwise viable businesses are not able to demonstrate their credit worthiness because their financial records are incomplete or informal, and critically, a large share of SMEs are still unaware that funding and development programs, including our own, exist, right? So the gap is not only just about capital supply, but it's also about awareness, financial literacy, and readiness, which we will touch on shortly. So I guess the question after all of this then is, what is your role? What do you provide as Masisizane in the SME funding space? So ours is really, we exist precisely to close the gap which I've just highlighted. We provide working capital finance to help tourism SMEs to manage the cash flow pressures of seasonal demand. We provide asset and expansion finance, property upgrades, vehicles, equipment that assist the businesses to grow their capacity. And critically, we provide structured and tailored repayment terms that are very much designed around the realities of the tourism seasonality, right? As a fund that has an impact head, we also maintain a deliberate, inclusive focus in prioritizing Black-owned, youth-owned, and women-owned SMEs in the tourism space. But for us as Masisizane, what we do is more than just money. Capital alone really solves the underlying problem, which is not just isolated to tourism SMEs, but just broadly in the SME lending space. That capital really solves the underlying problem that SMEs face, which is why our model then as a fund pairs funding with structured business support. And how do we do this? We provide mentorship and, and business development support that really strengthens the core management and planning skills of the businesses, provide financial literacy support, record keeping training, so business can actually demonstrate their performance and build a credible track record over time. Because what is key before Masisizane or any other funder is stability to demonstrate and walk a funder through your numbers with a degree of confidence, right? But over and above that, one also needs to be able to demonstrate that there is a viable, demonstrable demand that this funding is responding to. And a part of that, then, what we provide is market linkages that connects SMEs to trade platforms, buyers, and other players across the tourism value chain, which then helps address the visibility and market access challenge that we spoke about earlier, right? I think the key part is then saying, what do we look for as a fund or any other investors in our space? Because I think what I'm highlighting here is not just isolated to Masisizane. Any other funder, whether it's banks, DFI, semi-DFI, private investors, these are the underlying questions that we'll really ask. I think from a fundamentals perspective is there a clear, viable business model with real market demand behind it? I think that is really key. The other part, which I think I've spoken to, are the financial records sound enough to show cash flows that is predictable and is genuinely understood and managed by management. So if the business plan is done by someone else, but are you able to see it before the funder and be able to articulate with solid understanding the numbers for your business? Is there a capable management team that can execute the strategy as articulated in the business plan? But not only just talking through your numbers, your story, but are you able to evidence that with data, right? Can the business point to actual tractions, whether it's bookings, occupancy rates, signed contracts. In some instances, there are no contracts in that space, but can you evidence repeat customers rather than projections alone, right? Has the owners put in their own contribution or collateral, which also signals to the funders that there's commitment, and is the business fully compliant, whether it's tax, licensing, or all the other governance requirement, which is really, really critical. So how do we get ready? This is a high-level funding readiness checklist that we go through as a fund, from a compliance, from a financial, from a business plan, market traction. I've touched on to an extent that there is on contribution and collateral. That is key. The quality and the capability of the management team really demonstrated by the relevant experience of that team, and then the overall compliance, whether it's licensing, permits, and BE status, of course, where is applicable. Those are critical for us. So just a quick takeaway for us, firstly, tourism, we view it as a genuine proven growth sector and a growth engine for South Africa. And at the heart of that, SMEs are the ones that are delivering that. And secondly, those SMEs for us sit at the center of the value chain, but remain structurally underfunded and undersupported, and that's largely why then on the funding readiness side, we are launching a funding readiness program starting on the 1st of August. So look out for the call for applications that also then seeks to address the challenges of investment readiness in the space. So overall, as a fund, we are committed not just to provide funding, but to provide support that then give SMEs the necessary sustainability to create the long-term sustainable impact. So I will pause here, colleagues, then I will take questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thabang. That was, yeah, it's very important information that everybody needs. The only question I think I have for you, you did mention that they need to have at least 12 months of financial records. So if you're an extreme startup, you're Sho't's B&B and Tavern, and you have literally just started up and you don't have financial records, should you therefore thus be rather in a position where you have at least done about a year of work before we then can approach you?
Yeah, thanks, Sho't. I think a minimum of 6 months, then we are able to have a conversation, right? Unfortunately, we do not fund pure startups, but a minimum of 6 months trading history, then we are able to have that conversation.
Thank you. There were a lot of hearts that were flying, so it seems a lot of people absorbed the information, and they look forward to, I think, engaging with I'm not even gonna try Masisizane. I'm a Pedi woman.
No, you've got it.
Masisizane.
You've got it.
Thank you. I think people would happily love to engage further on this, because you are very right in saying funding is quite a hectic part of running a business. So thank you so much for that. I do not see any questions. Oh, okay. I do see something. Is it on Q&A?
Chat.
On chat, I see. Can we have the read? Oh, no, that's not that. I have to go up. Okay. It is where do you get the link or information for training for fund readiness? It's from Delia.
No, thank you, Delia. So the link for the funding readiness will also be shared here, which will be our Master Season inquiries box, which will give you then access to the partners that are implementing the funding readiness on our behalf. But we'll also share the link just to the Master Season application process, which is Master Season inquiries at oldmutual.com as well, but I will drop it on the chat.
Thank you very much. I'm just trying to see. I see. Are these loan-based from Carl Tuma? Are these loan-based, equity-based funding structures? And that's Peggy at Curiosity.
So, but we are a majority debt fund. So 99.9% of our book is debt, but to an extent that the opportunity we're looking at requires a different structuring, whether it's pure equity, quasi-equity, convertible structures, we are open to do that. But I think what I want to emphasize is our first instrument that we call on is debt, structured in numerous ways. But if your opportunity says a debt will not apply here, will not force fit a square into a round hole, how do you make sure then that other instruments that we have in our arsenal help you make the venture possible?
That I'll take a question also from Tebello Mutapo of Quad Ventures. That he strongly believes that a lot of startups, micro and small tourism businesses need support with funding readiness so they can gain better access to funding, particularly since many lack working capital to deliver the experiences. And also, obviously, a lot of the work that they do are, well, it says largely asset light, but I've seen many that are very asset heavy. He'd also like to add that they need more assistance with youth-owned tourism businesses in accessing this kind of funding. And I think you mentioned that, Tabang, that you've got a great focus on youth, Black youth and females in that sense. So I think that was covered by you. That was, yes, that's it.
Okay.
For the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am moving to the last speaker of the day, Miss Ayanda Mantombazane Mhlongo, who is going to take us through creating content that connects through cultural intelligence and innovation. Ms. Mhlongo has led marketing, commercial strategies, content, and audience growth across some of Africa's most recognized entertainment brands, delivering integrated campaigns, launching TV channels, and developing partnerships that connect brands with culture in meaningful ways. If I'm not mistaken, Ayanda Trace is probably one of them. My experience, oh my Sho't, I love myself so much. I'm now saying I'm Trace. Her experience spans from TV, streaming, digital media, experiential marketing, tourism, sports, music, and entertainment. And she has been honored as one of Africa's most influential marketers for 3 consecutive years. So, Ayanda, over to you, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. That is so nice. I wish I could record that, actually. I don't introduce myself like
That's
that.
why I thought it was me.
No, it's so nice. Firstly, thank you so much. It's an honor to speak to everyone on this call. My full name is Ayanda Mantombazane Gaise. I am one of 10 kids from a very Zulu family in Bergville, in the Drakensberg. And I am really passionate about culture and how culture connects to tourism, how tourism connects to how we feel about ourselves, and how we feel about ourselves connects to how we just are and operate as a society. I didn't know I had to create a deck. So as everybody was speaking, I was rushing to put a presentation together to just give insight into the topic at hand. I'm not going to speak about necessarily what I do. I would like to actually focus in on the topic at hand. So I just need assistance. If you can let me know if you can see my screen, because then I can switch my laptop off. My camera off. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Cool. So today I'm speaking about culture and AI. I know a lot of people are nervous about artificial intelligence. I am one of the few people who are very excited about artificial intelligence, and I believe that um, if we adopt it as early as possible, we are actually able to influence artificial intelligence for good. I work off a theory that early adopters of anything are the ones who are in control of how good or how great a product can actually be. I'm touching on creating content that connects through cultural intelligence and information. We speak a lot about artificial intelligence. We speak a lot about content. We speak a lot about digital. I think as entrepreneurs who own specific venues, you actually own specific locations. You help drive tourism, whether it's domestic tourism, or I mean across the country. It's really important that we actually also touch on the cultural intelligence of that. And I believe that actually everyone on this call specializes in that, even though they don't necessarily call it out themselves. Smarter traveling advertising that connects is really the simplified version of this presentation that I'm giving today. That's me over there. I believe in creativity without compromise, and I really believe in creating experiences without limits. I am an advertiser, multi-award winning commercial leader. It's been 11 years. I have worked across the biggest brands across the continent, and I've done a lot of cool work globally. Over and above that, I have done award shows across the globe. The recent work I did was last year with the BT Awards. We did a partnership with Durban Tourism, where we brought Durban to LA. And it was quite interesting because we had Americans that got to experience it. And we did a competition where we then had 4 Americans come to Durban in December last year, and they actually didn't want to leave. Over and above that, I serve on the Television Academy for the Emmy Awards, and I'm also part of the Recording Academy, the Grammys, the class of 2026. And really what we do there is when you're a South African and you're Black and you're female, having a seat at the table is important because we are then able to give the Grammys insights into what's happening in our continent, culturally relevant artists, and what we are proud of. I think I want to start with a statement. Don't just market the destination, understand the traveler. I think that, or I believe that as entrepreneurs, you're consistently inundated with people telling you to advertise your properties, advertise the experience. But I think the foundation of everything is understanding the traveler. I believe it is, I think, Melanie who also gave insights into it's not just about your accommodation. It's not just about the location. It's not just about the house. Being able to tell stories around the place makes it even better. And I believe that people don't connect with destinations because they're beautiful. There are a lot of beautiful things. In fact, South Africa is so beautiful. I believe we're inundated with beautiful things all the time. Whether you go on social media, on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, there's always something beautiful being shown about our country. What we do need to push is that people actually connect with venues, with experiences, when they can imagine themselves belonging there. There was a comment made by one of the panelists earlier on about how rest is important to South Africans right now, just looking at our socio-economic climate, how rest is important and how we're investing in resting. And so if I can imagine myself resting at your venue, you already have me as a consumer, because not all consumers plan holidays for adventure. Some people's adventure is actually resting. Just to bring it closer in terms of what I actually mean, I believe that content connects when people recognize themselves in it. Cultural intelligence really is the ability to understand how people live, what they value, how they communicate, what makes them feel seen. I made a statement earlier on where I actually said that everyone on this call has cultural intelligence. And I believe we all have it because we all understand how we live, as people. South Africa is quite a diverse audience, a really beautiful country. And there's so many of us that do a whole lot of things. But in terms of how we live, there are similarities. What we value community, we value culture, we value togetherness. People rarely like doing things alone. And even when you do things alone, you always have the expectation of meeting someone who's cool, someone who you can relate to, wherever it is that you are actually going. How we communicate, we're multilingual, we're a very funny nation. We are a nation that's built on memes. Growing up, memes used to be things that like teens used to use. My mom is just under 70 and no one sends WhatsApp stickers like her. And so we now need to be able to kind of connect with people in a way and in a language that they actually understand. Cultural intelligence really means understanding the emotion behind the journey. Yes, we want to create all these amazing journeys. We want to create all these amazing experiences. But really understanding the emotion that your experience creates is really important. And I say this because tourism is one of the best sectors to actually work in, because I believe that you are able to drive how people feel, not only about themselves, but how they feel and their relationship with their country, their place, their origins. And being able to create an emotion behind it is important. I really want to touch on AI. I'm very excited about AI. I'm also very passionate about AI because I believe that the core of AI being created outside of all the noise we hear around the world is that it really has been created to make life easier for us. I know a lot of people are nervous about AI because people believe that it doesn't make people don't want to think or no longer want to think. And I think that that's happening because people are using it in the wrong way. AI was never designed to think for you. AI was designed to take all the thoughts that you have, create a mind map out of it, and give it back to you in a way that's structured and that actually makes sense. I understand for me that AI is the tool, and that's kind of what I want to get across today. But more than anything else, with AI being the tool, culture is the brief. You can download ChatGPT and you can say, make me an advert. And ChatGPT makes you that one of those awful adverts that are trending on social media that everybody hates. What people don't know is that AI actually is way smarter, can connect to multiple apps, multiple platforms, and can use your actual existing pictures to create something remarkable. Before using AI, I think it's important to understand your traveler. And I think South Africa, being the gift that gives over and over again, your traveler is multi-dimensional. Someone who comes to for example, accommodation or gets to experience your place in January is probably coming in to recuperate because December was crazy. They then come Easter with family because it's the holidays. Then we know that another peak is going to be September because everybody wants to be outside. It's hot. December is absolutely amazing because we all have an influx of money because of bonuses. Now, what really is important is for you to be able to give AI these insights. AI has got no idea what you talk about when you speak about insights. You need to be able to feed AI insights so that it is able to then take everything you've given it and it gives you a plan. Understanding your traveler is asking, who are you advertising to? What is it that you want them to feel? Why do you want them to travel to you? Like, what is it? Are they traveling for work? Are they traveling with kids? Are they trying to get away from their kids? Is it a romantic getaway? Is it a wellness retreat, for example? And why would make this experience feel relevant to them? Relevance is a big thing in marketing. We now have a society that want to feel as though things are catered just for them. So everybody, and I think it's a worldwide phenomenon where everybody wants to feel special, which is why we're on TikTok and we're dancing and everyone is on live sending stickers and gifts and everybody's on Instagram and on Facebook, etc., because everybody wants to feel needed, wanted, seen, heard, and relevant. And so your content should be able to do this. In the next few slides, and I think in every slide, I've actually put in a prompt that actually helps you understand what I mean. So if you go onto AI right now and you say, create an advert for Durban. So I've got a Durban summer campaign and I've got an amazing house in Mhlanga. That ChatGPT has no idea what you're talking about. ChatGPT goes into the dark centers of the web, pulls out whatever it can find about Durban, and it creates probably an advert that is awful and looks like you literally got it from ChatGPT. But what's different is when you start feeding AI with exactly what it is that you want. I always say AI, you should talk to AI like it's your friend. And I know it sounds really crazy. But the more you actually talk to AI as though you're talking to your friend, someone who has no idea professionally what it is that you do, all they know is that you own a really amazing venue or accommodation, or you want to talk about an experience, you speak to AI like you would speak to your friend. The more human you sound speaking to AI, the more human feedback you can actually get. People make the mistake of going onto AI and typing like they're speaking to a robot, which they are technically. But because you want the output to be one that has a human experience to it, greet your AI, tell your AI exactly what you want, though as you'd be speaking to a human being, so that it's able to then recalibrate itself and give you content that specifically aligns with what it is that you're trying to get out of there. The point I'm landing with this slide is that AI can produce content quickly, but it needs to be clear and a culturally relevant brief. The more specifically we describe the traveler, their budgets, their interests, why they're traveling, the stronger the advertising will be. Us leaning and our dependency on AI should not be that it produces things faster and that's it. We should be leaning onto AI to produce content that you would have been able to create that would have taken you, for example, 48 hours, and it can do it in 5 minutes. There is no benefit of AI being fast for you if it's not being fast in an efficient way that actually lands. Using AI to create content faster. Having studied a lot about AI, different forms of AI, which we actually have, AI doesn't just do things. AI can actually help steer you in the right direction. So for example, if you have advertising ideas that you're not sure how to test it out or you want to sense check them, creating social media captions that align with your campaign plan, video scripts, campaign headlines, travel itineraries. I'm a big fan of someone telling me what I can do when I get to a specific area, even if I'm going there for a wellness kind of short-lived, or I'm tired or I'm exhausted. Nothing beats before getting to a place and I'm told by the owner, we're excited to have you. Here are a couple of options. We can suggest this, we can suggest that. It makes me, number one, want to stay longer than what I'd initially planned, but it also is something that's quite shareable, specifically on platforms like TikTok, where everybody shares everything that they experience in real time. Email and WhatsApp promotions, content in different languages. And this is a very important thing for me. I had a campaign that I was working on where we actually had to go to New York. And when we got to New York, we were there literally to feed the AI information on language. So a few of us were selected and we got there, and you literally are staying in a hotel which has AI bots, robots that come deliver your food, etc. But throughout the week, we were in conference and you engage with this robot. So as soon as you get there, you tell your robot, so Ayanda Mantombazane say I'm Zulu and I'm 33 years old. And you and that robot basically spend time together. So everything that happens throughout the conference, you're inputting, it's speaking to you in Zulu. You're able to correct it and say, no, actually, that's not how you spell it. That's not how you say it. We know that from a South African perspective, language plays a big role colloquially and how we speak and how we're able to interconnect words. There's also a phenomenon about South Africa, which is quite special from across the globe. And everyone says that South Africa is the only nation that starts a sentence in English and ends it in their native language. And so whether it's on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, especially Americans, they're always just like, we never know what you're saying because we only know half. You start off a story, and as soon as you're about to finish the story, you then end up speaking it in your native language. There's shows like The Polygamist that came out recently that's taking the world by storm. If you actually watch the show from a cultural relevancy eye, that's exactly what happens in the storyline. Jonas will speak in English, and before he leaves to cause chaos, he ends off saying something in Zulu. And I think that that's also something to be able to play with as people that partake in tourism. Play on what it is that's happening and what's happening around the globe and how people have actually been able to experience us. And I think it's important to be able to adapt that in your communication. And I think that what's important is that you can create one advert that can be used across different audiences. When I was working at Trace, I was managing 41 countries on the continent that were speaking different languages. There was a Lusophone market. There's the Francophone market, which is French. There's a Southern SADC market, which was primarily English. Then there's also the North African markets, totally different languages. In the market itself, there were about 40 or 50 different languages. But when you start diving into what actually happens in each region, you are able to have one piece of communication, but basically created or duplicated in 4 different ways to reach 4 different markets. Rest for someone in Epiri in Soweto is primarily different, or rather wellness. Wellness to someone who grew up, for example, or Hlale Piri in Soweto is different from wellness of Ayanda or Bigville. And it's different for wellness of an Amanda that's in Cape Town. And yet wellness is a universal thing and we all need it. And so when you start creating content, think along those lines. One experience, and just an example, one experience can become multiple adverts. A weekend, right, in Mpumalanga can be advertised differently. They are the lovers, a romantic escape for couples. It could be an affordable road trip for friends, which is actually a really big trend that we're seeing now on TikTok. It's called Me and My Friends. Literally, domestic travel is something that people definitely want to now explore. And so there's this new trend called Me and My Friends. So it's basically Ayanda and her 3 friends, and we basically figure out, kind of toss a coin, where do we kind of want to go, and let's go there. People use TikTok a lot to find locations and destinations. How can you tap into that kind of market? And again, if a weekend is not a romantic getaway, it's an affordable road trip for friends. It could be a holiday experience for a family or a school. It could be a wellness weekend. It could be an adventure package. It could be something called a staycation, which is also trending quite a lot amongst young people in the country, is where can we have a staycation, because vacations tend to also be a tad bit expensive. And so between now and December, knowing that I'm going to probably go to Ghana in December to have fun, between now and November, what staycation can I actually have? That's the kind of ideas we need to look at. I've kind of simplified what I've been speaking about in a way that actually makes sense. I do like to find ways to speak about, tourism and AI but I also like to kind of bring it down to what the real deal actually is. And this is an example of turning one travel package into a full campaign. So you can have one offer across 4 audiences and create 4 adverts all at once. You can just, I always start by dividing my audience, which is very important. And you can already start looking at AI generated content. Now, AI-generated content does not necessarily mean that AI is making these people up or creating them from scratch, etc. AI-generated content can also have a mixture of your actual location. I always say when you want to create content, videos, etc., give the AI what your place looks like and let AI come up with an advert that makes sense. So that when you're on TikTok, people are not like, why are cartoons walking around in your yard? Next thing you're getting dragged on social media. There are much smarter ways to create AI content that is that looks better. And what we are lucky with on social media is that social media prompts people that it is AI generated content, but because it looks like your actual area when they go to the website, they aren't turned off by that. You can create AI prompts that actually make sense. You're creating a version, 4 versions of a travel offer. Give AI your audience. Tell them what the headline needs to be. Let them know if you need a social media caption and how long. Do you need a call to action? Where must it go? How often do you need it? And I think the summary I'm making with this slide is that AI has real value, especially for small businesses and especially in the current economic climate that we are in. A small tourism business can turn one package into a full campaign without needing a large marketing team. The information remains the same, but the message changes according to what matters to each traveler at that time. And I think that's really the message that I'm getting across with this section. Let AI create, but let people actually approve. So I think I mentioned it. Give AI all the tools. AI takes its time. It worked on an amazing campaign. But before you publish, you should be giving human insights. Nothing beats human insights because tourism is built off human lived experiences. Let the language sound natural. Is the culture represented respectfully? Are the prices and details correct? I mean, I've seen some posters created with AI that have pounds and euros and dollars, but you're promoting domestic travel for South Africans, and already that becomes an entire turnoff. And South Africans then feel like you're trying to advertise your place and target it only to international travelers. So it's little things like that that you need to check. The winning formula for me with using AI for content is that human insights plus the speed of AI creates content that connects. So AI is actually here to assist us. It's not here to replace our understanding of people and places. In fact, AI will never be able to understand. AI will never be able to understand people, places, and our lived experiences. All AI can do is take what you're giving it and give it back to you in a way that is faster and probably that you're able to understand easier because it breaks down all the information. AI creates the first draft and it can generate multiple versions across the board. It can definitely help us move faster, but human insights is what makes sure that the final content is the right content. And that human insight goes back to my first point, is what cultural intelligence actually is. I think this is my second last slide. Sorry, I might be over. I think as a formula also, I didn't want to just speak about content and not give you an idea on what platforms actually work, when and why. I created something called an AI advertising toolkit. When you get all of these, they are all free versions of it. And then there are paid versions of it should you want to explore more. But in essence, your AI advertising toolkit is in four forms. And the toolkit is you think about what you want, it gets designed, you edit it, and then you advertise. So between the thinking and editing is you. ChatGPT or AI will design and advertise it for you. So a platform like ChatGPT, that's where you kind of literally have all the ideas you have, literally put it out there. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct. Just anytime I've got ChatGPT on my phone, anytime I think of an idea that I want to use one day, I kind of just type it in there and I'm always just like, remember it, we'll come back to it. I mean, I haven't come back to a lot of my ideas as yet, but I think one of them is like an award-winning idea, hopefully. Canva is great for creating content in an easy way. Canva is a template-based platform, and now Canva has something called Canva AI, which is amazing. So you can say to Canva AI, this is Ayanda, this is what she looks like. Can you put me in my advert as the owner of this venue? Because I don't have money to be doing photo shoots, and it can do exactly that. CapCut is my favorite app. If you are working with, if you have seen what influencers do, guests that come visit your place, it's really, really cool to engage with platforms like CapCut, couple of videos, chop them up, and put them on social media. It works amazingly well for Reels and on TikTok. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Half the time, it doesn't even need your voice. Slap on some TikTok music and keep it moving. Meta Plus advantage really is what content do you have that exists that can be turned into an advert? There is no burden on business owners having to sit and design and create. You tell Meta Advantage that my logo is blue, here it is. This is my tagline. This is my location. This is what I want. This is who I want to speak to. And it actually creates content for you on those for Facebook and for Instagram for you to advertise. Google Performance Max is used to promote and offer Google search, YouTube, display, etc., etc., etc. It makes sure that you are found when you're on social media. It tells you, for example, if you go on Google search and people find your venue, why aren't they clicking on it? How can they click on it? And how do you further advertise it without breaking the bank, which is important. And then, yeah, I'm done. My name's King Aya _ on all platforms if you ever want to chat more. But yes, thank you so much. And I really appreciate it. I guess we can move to questions.
Thank you, King Aya. That was absolutely amazing. I think everybody thoroughly enjoyed it. There was a lot of hard flying over there while you were talking. I have one question that I can ask. Firstly, I loved the comment that you made that basically AI does not replace people in essence. You still have to. Yeah, you still have to go and look through everything so that all the nuances, the stories, the experiences come out. In terms of, I think I saw there's a line that you had there around making sure you have permissions to use, if you're bringing in people / experiences, that you have permissions when you have AI. Just now, with Mashoto's B&B and Tavern, I have pulled out a number of, AI has pulled out a beautiful experience where you can have, my great B&B, but when I do experiences in and around there, is there a way to make sure that I know the permissions, if I could put it that way, of using images and footage that is not owned by me?
Yes, that's actually a great question. Thank you so much for that. So I think firstly, I always tell people to not go onto Google and search for an image and download that image and then use it on any of the adverts. It doesn't actually work that way. There's a metadata source on every image. And one day you're going to have this amazing adventure farm that Idris Elba comes to and the whole world finds out. And then the owner of that quad bike that you used then realizes that this person just got some dollars and I want to kind of file a claim against them. In my presentation, I had spoken about Canva AI. I spoke about CapCut. These platforms have got images, license-free images that are on the platform that you can actually use. If you go on Canva, in your search tab on the far left, there's a tab called Elements. If you click on Elements and you type in underwater adventure, it'll give you all the images that are license free that you can actually utilize on all your content without having to worry about it. There's also a platform called Envato. I'm going to type it here. It's envato.com. It's another amazing platform. You are not going to be stressed about creating a website. You're not going to have to pay somebody 20,000 Rand to create your website. You go to Envato, you pay $10, you get access to 30,000 templates. It's an AI platform. All you do is you say to it, hi Envato, I've got a platform and I want to create a website for quad biking adventures. And Envato will say to you, give me the location, etc., pricing, and it actually builds this website for you. You're then able to take that website, get a domain, publish it, put it on Google. I think that technology is amazing because it's allowed us now to cut the amount of effort we've had to put in, especially if you are a single business owner who has to be a marketer, a head of finance, an advertising queen, and you also need to take care of guests. It can be quite overwhelming. And I think that once you start utilizing AI as for example, as your creative head or as your graphic designer, it then takes away the load and allows you to focus on more important things that can actually help drive traffic to your venue.
Thank you for that. Yeah, no, thank you. I'm going to invite her after here. The B&B that I've been talking about for the past couple of years. Yeah, it must now happen, honestly. In terms of the questions, as I said, people loving it. Okay, no, sorry, I'm looking at Karaba's trying to read the question. Should AI people's picture? How do we navigate the should AI use people's pictures? How do we navigate the POPIA Act? I think that's what Karabo is.
Actually, that's actually a great question. So maybe let's talk about how AI creates pictures of humans. So if you go into AI right now and you say, I want to create an advert that has a South African who's 33 years old and is female and has braids, AI creates that based off various pictures that are on the internet, right? There's two predominantly different things about creating images using AI and masking people on AI. So if you take a picture of Ayanda and you say, I want to take Ayanda's face and I want to put it on Halle Berry's body, that's masking. That's crazy business. There was a big trend about that when AI first came out, which was crazy. But if you are telling AI that you want to create an image of a young female that loves shark cage diving, for example, AI will then generate that image for you, which is why they say that when you go on social media is able to pick up AI generated images because it's not a real person. That person that technically doesn't actually exist. The only time AI modifies pictures is when it's your picture. I always tell people that there are platforms like ChatGPT. Actually, if you send them a picture of yourself and say, please edit this picture, it always prompts to say to you, is this really a picture? Do you know what you're using it for? And so I think that that's the most important part, is that you're not masking images and people's real look and feel into your advert. You could literally recreate something new with AI. There are quite a number of AI adverts actually that big brands are utilizing currently and putting it all over television. Those people technically don't exist. When I said you can utilize AI, you can utilize your own images for AI. What I meant by that is that you need to be able to take a picture of your venue, your environment, things that you own. And you're able to tell AI that when I create an image about my venue, which has shark cage diving and quad biking and this type of adventure, please include this look and feel. And it then takes what is yours that exists and creates content out of it. And I think that that's the most important part, because you want content to look so that when I get to your place, I'm not like, this is not what I saw on TikTok or what I saw on Facebook or what I saw on Instagram. And I think that that's the most important part in utilizing AI. I then also spoke about being early adopters of AI. And I think that as Africans, for example, half of the time we aren't given an opportunity to be early adopters of anything. And therefore people sell us things 5 years down the line. And when they sell it to us, we think that it is one dimensional. By us tapping into AI, playing around with AI right now as it's available to us, we are actually be able as early adopters to then ensure that future generations that utilize AI utilize it to do the right thing. So masking images, for example, is whack, especially if you don't own the content that you have. But if you are creating a campaign, for example, we know that September's around the corner, summer campaign is starting for Sho't Left. How can I partake in that? As a business owner, you should be able to put these questions into ChatGPT so that when you pick up the phone or you email the SA tourism team, you are now saying, hey guys, my venue is going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here are the following deals that I've actually thought of between September and Jan next year. That's how we utilize AI to make things better and easier for you. We just shouldn't use AI to replace human beings at all.
I fully agree with that. And I think, Suzanne, your question is almost answered. Where can I take a picture at an event and ask AI to change their faces? I'd love mine sometimes to be changed, but I think Ayanda has pretty much answered that. How can you do a voiceover for your CapCut video?
I love that question. I'm a CapCut queen, guys. And so I think, so firstly, when you put together a voiceover for CapCut, it's actually a video. So you've taken your pieces of content, you found a template, you put the content there, CapCut cuts it automatically for you. Amazing, great, we're happy. Now you need to put your voice over it. So all you do is you take your, if you have 2 devices, you watch the video that you've just put together, and you take your phone and you record yourself speaking to what you're seeing in that video. Once you're done, you take that video that's got your voice on it, you put it onto CapCut as a layer, as a new layer on the same template. All you do then is, it's always a small button on the far left. It's actually eyes. It looks like 2 eyes. You click on it and it removes your face from that video, but keeps your voice, which means that it matches your visuals and your voice, and you're able to have a full-on CapCut video. There's on TikTok, you actually can go on the search tab. If you go on TikTok right now and you search how to add my voice on CapCut, they are actually like really cool tutorials, 30-second tutorials that will actually help you do that. Again, you don't need CapCut Pro, like a paid version of it, to do that. You can still have the normal CapCut that you don't have to pay any money for, and you can actually then utilize all of this. Another tip is connect your CapCut to your social media platforms, because when you wake up in the morning and go on CapCut and you're trying to figure out what to do, CapCut AI and TikTok come together to tell you what the community is doing. So CapCut will then say to you, don't create a 5-minute video. The people that are talking to you want to see 60 seconds, quick, straight to the point, and the ending must say, stay here for 3,000 Rand a night. And then you actually start creating content like that. When you don't connect your CapCut to your TikTok, it somehow becomes disconnected, and we don't want that.
Sure. Okay. Even me, I'm learning new things today.
Yes.
Just to move on, where was I now? How does this is from Saskia. How does the AI label effect people's responses to the poster or ad?
That's a good question. So half the time, actually, people don't actually see that don't see the AI generated label. And I'll tell you why. Because every single day I wake up in my family group, I have my family, young and old, that still send me crazy videos made out of AI, and they think either their favorite celebrities are dead or they've got all these crazy conspiracy theories that are jumping around on social media. So more often than not, people don't actually see the AI label. That's number one. Number two, people that are cognizant of the AI label aren't necessarily negatively impacted by it. Because more than often, by the time you actually engage with an AI prompted content piece, you know it's AI, you are more concerned with what it is or the pieces of content that is actually included in there. And I think that that should be the focal point. Our focal point should not, we shouldn't be scared of like seeing an AI generated label on our content. The very same way that we have hundreds and thousands of influencers that are currently on social media every day that feed ads to us. I mean, there was a rule that said you must have hashtag ad, you must have hashtag paid posts. It hasn't stopped that industry from growing. It hasn't stopped people from being influenced. Content, storytelling, it will forever exist. Whether it's done by AI or done by us, we will always be influenced by it because we are creating it based off our own lived experiences. So having an AI prompt doesn't negatively affect your content at all.
Okay. The question from Jerry, sorry, is does all the information fed into AI become available to all? Briefly asked, who owns copyrights?
Does all the information fed into AI become available to all? Yes and no. So how AI works is AI works off the internet. Whatever exists on Google, on the search engine, AI will find and put together and give it to you. I think when you go onto platforms like ChatGPT, especially if you are using that platform to submit official documents or research-based content, it always tells you that AI actually can make mistakes and more than likely will make a mistake if you don't cross-reference the information. So all information that AI has primarily or predominantly is actually from Google. Now there are AI, so if you are working with ChatGPT, it's called ChatGPT GP5+O. It's like a super premium paid version of it. You actually are able to prompt the AI to say to it, what I'm sharing with you should not be on Google. It shouldn't be available to other AI users. This should actually be kept just for the purposes of what it is that I am doing at the moment. Copywriting does tend to become quite tricky, especially from an ideation perspective. And I think that there was a case earlier this year about whose idea is it anyway? If you and I give ChatGPT the same prompt and they give us the exact same answer, who actually owns the idea? And I think that what we were then able to kind of get to is if you are communicating with AI and you are feeding it information, AI feeds off how you speak. It feeds off, and you can even tell AI how you want it to respond back to you. Professionally, should it talk to you like your friend? Like, I mean, my AI calls me Chomi. I think it's fantastic. That's how much I actually use AI. And I think that the only time that copywriting becomes an issue is when you don't give credit to the information that you got from ChatGPT. So I'm currently studying and it sucks because you are reading and writing a lot of assignments. And so when I get a brief, I say, ChatGPT, I got this brief. Can you help me understand it better? And it's able to kind of put it into different formats for me. And then I need to now go back and take all the information that I have and input it into my assignment so that it actually makes sense. And I think it's important that you are able, just like how we're taught in school, Harvard referencing, you always need to reference where the information came from. And I think that's what's important. And that also does play quite a heavy role on copywriting or copywriting issues.
Whew. Wow. Thank you so much, Ayanda. That, and I want to say it in full. Ayanda mantombazane kayise. Mantombazane kayise.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was exceptionally insightful and a great way to end this session that we've had. Just before we completely end the session, I want to thank everybody who actually attended. It was a great attendance from everybody. Really appreciate it. I'd like to thank Melanie Vongani from South African Tourism for giving us all the information. Thank you, Mariette. Thank you, Tabang. And obviously, Ayanda. Thank you very much for all of that. To all the attendees, I hope this was insightful. I hope that it has helped you with a lot of things in terms of how to actually build your business, where to get funding, what the stats are saying, what the trends are saying, so that by the time you leave here, you're well equipped to firstly create absolutely lovely deals, as Ayanda has showed us how easy it is to actually do those particular deals. And also, share those deals with us so we can actually have a very, very powerful campaign reminder. And I'm going to ask Mel to do this reminder. Mel, the reminder of when Travel Week is, when they should launch the deals. And yeah, we will be sending all the information to everybody, all the presentations, so that you can enjoy it. Thank you so much. Melanie?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, everybody. That was really amazing. The speakers really came through for us and we appreciate it. Just as a reminder, Travel Week is 7th to the 13th of September. You can start creating your deals from the 1st, at least start creating those great discounts for us. You got all the tips and all the information you need from all of our speakers. Specifically, Ayanda and Mariette were very, very detailed in terms of what will do well for you with the South African market. So please utilize those and start creating and submitting your deals. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So 7 to 13th, please don't forget. We look forward to your deals. We look forward to also seeing you all over the country. Should you need to reach us, please don't forget to go to shotleft.southafrica.net if you don't have our personal emails. Now that I have taken an extra 24 minutes of your day, I will let you go. I love hearing the sound of my voice, but I think it's time to rest it now. So I will say thank you, and we look forward to working with you. Bye.
Bye.